Gym Candy, Part 4, Chapter 5. A little before school had let out, I started getting the zits. For a while, there were just a few, and I wasn't sure it was the D-ball causing them. But then more and more appeared, mainly on my back and chest. I kept a shirt on always, even when it was hot, and after a while in the bathroom, I used only the night lights so I wouldn't have to see them. I could have lived with the zits for a long time, but then something grosser happened. It was the first day of July, about 6 weeks after I'd started with the D-ball. I took a shower, and as I dried myself off, I noticed that my nipples looked puffy and thick. Maybe I was imagining things, but the next day they looked worse. So Mick continues with the D-ball, and he starts getting these zits, like all over the place. And for most people that you would know, okay, this is where I need to back off or, quit D-ball. But he says, they were worth it, right? They were worth it because I was still gaining strength. Okay. And then his body starts to change in other ways, and that's when he starts to freak out. I sucked up my courage and told Peter. "That's good," he said, putting his arm around my shoulder and walking me toward the corner of the gym. "You telling me right away, I mean. I've known guys who hide it, hoping it will go away on its own. It doesn't." "So what do I do?" "Wait here," he said. A couple of minutes later, he came back with a small brown bag. Inside was a vial of pills. "I told you I'd never leave you hanging, didn't I? You stop taking the D-ball, and you take these instead. They'll clean you out." "For how long?" "Hard to say. 2 weeks, maybe less. Everybody's different. Once your body gets back to normal, you can take the D-ball again." "But if I don't take the D-ball for 2 weeks, won't I slip back?" He looked at me sideways. "Yeah, you will. I told you that up front. It's how D-ball is. 2 steps forward, 1 step back." "I can't step back now," I said, suddenly feeling desperate. "Football tryouts are in August. I've got to keep going forward." "You've got no choice, Mick. Your body is screaming, stop." I stared at him. He was rock solid. "How come you don't have zits? How come you never lose muscle?" "I've got zits," he said. "Not on my face, but on my back and chest." "But you don't ever cut back on your workouts, do you?" He bobbed his head this way and that. "No, not really." "So how come you can keep going and I can't?" He shrugged. "I take different stuff from you." "What stuff?" "I take a combination of drugs. It's called doing a stack." "Why can't I do a stack?" "Because you wouldn't want to use the things I'm using." "Why not?" "Because you've got to inject yourself." I stared at him. "You mean with a needle, like heroin?" "With a needle, but not like heroin." "You shoot up?" "I give myself injections, but I don't do it to get high, and I'm not addicted to anything, so I wouldn't call it shooting up." I nodded toward the gym. "The serious bodybuilders, do they shoot up too?" "Some do, some don't." I shook my head back and forth. "I'm not sticking a needle in my arm. No way." Peter threw his arms out. "Nobody's asking you to do injections. I knew you wouldn't want to, which is why I never brought it up. But just for you to know, you don't stick a needle in your arm. You stick it in your butt." "I don't care where you stick it. I'm not doing that." "I hear you, Mick. I hear you loud and clear. No injections." He took a deep breath. "Look, I've got other people I've got to work with. Take some time off, get away from the gym, don't come back until your system is cleaned out. Then we'll get you going on the D-ball again, and you won't feel so bad about all this." Mick finally fesses up to Peter what's going on. Peter says, "Okay, you got to stop taking it for a while," right? And he gives him something else to take to clean out his system. And he says, "Hey, this is going to set you back some," right? It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back with this stuff. Nick's not happy with that, right? He just wants to keep getting better and better because football tryouts are coming up. And so Peter lets him know, well, I don't take D-ball. I take something else, right? I give myself a shot. And Mick asks some questions about it, but ultimately he does not want to give himself a shot. And so he's going to continue on with the D-ball.